Hey Tesla fans, Michael Romano here. I've got Michelle Miranda here as well. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Model Y unveiling and our trip down to Tesla headquarters in Hawthorne, California. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened since I filmed the last video where I talked about the standard dual motor versus the Performance Edition. Since that time I've actually upgraded to a Performance Edition, which I'll explain later in a whole other video. But I wanted to start off first by thanking anybody who used my referral code. What it allowed me to do, I don't remember the order, but I got a radio flyer little Tesla car for my kid. He's not quite old enough to drive it yet. He can't actually reach the pedals, but it's super awesome and it's waiting for him just to grow a little bit. And then second, I got a wall charger, a wall connector. I actually already had one, but I got a second one, which was really cool. And there were some other things too, like software updates come a little bit faster, but the main thing is, this was the most exciting and the reason for shooting this video, is that one of the referral rewards was a ticket +1 to go to one of the reveal events down in Hawthorne. And I didn't know when they were going to be doing a reveal and if it was going to be the truck or if it was going to be the Model Y or whatever. But I was basically waiting. I got a hotel reservation and a flight down to, made a reservation down to Hawthorne just in case. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get an invite. I've never been down there before, never got an invite for anything like this before. So we were talking to some people actually on one of the local Tesla forums. They were talking about the fact that you don't typically get an invite until it's like 2 days before the event or 3 days before the event. So I happened to be doing some work on my computer. I don't usually stay up super late, but I was on like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night. And Michelle happened to be on too. We were chatting a little bit on Facebook about how exciting it would be if we got an invite. And then I think it was somebody posted in a forum, right? Is that how we first?
First I heard of it was you said, what's your email address?
Okay.
I said, does this mean what I think it means?
Okay. Because I know what it was. There was another guy on the Portland forum who, the Tesla group, who had posted a screenshot saying he got an invite. That's what happened. And so, because I was trying to jog my memory. So I saw that and I said, whoa, this guy got an invite. I wonder, so I went and hit refresh my email box. And so long story short, it's like, 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night, I finally get an email that says, congratulations, you and +1 can go to this reveal. And I was like, oh my God, now what do I do? I don't want to screw this up. I don't want to delete the email. Do I click on a button? What do I do? And so I ended up filling up a little form and it asked me for an email address and that's when I messaged you. So she gave me her email address, sent it off, and then, I don't know, it was maybe 30 minutes later of just kind of waiting like, is this for real? Because it didn't really tell you were for sure going. It said, we'll let you know, like you will confirm later if you're actually allowed to go. So we were both chatting back and forth about how exciting this was, and then finally I got an email back confirmation. I think you got one too, right?
It took me a few minutes to actually realize I had to RSVP.
Oh, okay, that's right, I forgot about that.
So yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I should RSVP really quick before I can't go. But yeah, it worked out. So we finally got our emails that really confirmed like that this was really going to happen. And then I already had the flight booked and the hotel booked, and then she booked all of her travel. And so then fast forward to sort of getting down there. So start first, I don't travel a whole lot to LA, but I thought it was interesting visiting Hawthorne. It was a very non-pretentious, looked like it's a pretty industrial, like working class town. And you can tell that Tesla is a big deal and SpaceX is a big deal down there because they've got one of their, that Falcon Heavy kind of a little model that's sort of assembled like a statue on one of the roads right out next to the hotel. And then we took a, what was it, like a lift over to past SpaceX. You want to tell them a little bit about the Hyperloop? Because she noticed what that was before I did. I don't know if it's Rocket Road or what road that SpaceX and the Tesla Design Studio is on, but the entire length of that road is where the Hyperloop was. So that was really exciting to see. And she noticed it before I did, but then you look over at it and it was a long stretch. Like they took some time to really make this sort of test track. We go into the actual Tesla security gate, and they had a couple of security guys. We asked them actually for directions because it was pretty industrial looking. It wasn't like red velvet ropes or red carpet or anything like that. It was kind of like you drive into this total like industrial area and you're like, are we in the right place? Like, where do we go? Security guy did not like,
it wasn't helpful at all. They were serious. I mean, they looked really serious. Tactical vest and everything. Yeah, he's on his radio. So anyway, we went past and then kind of run around the corner, and then I'll show a little video clip here of sort of the entrance to Tesla's design studio. It's basically an old airplane hangar that, I mean, for us it was significant. I think for Tesla fans it's significant visiting, but it's not like visiting Disneyland in the sense that like it's a real attraction on the outside or like there's cool architecture. It's kind of like an old building that's been repurposed, you know, for Tesla. But anyway, they have their supercharger right next to the entrance, and then we got in line. And one of the things that I don't know as much about, I've seen some of the YouTube videos from other YouTubers who cover Tesla, but Michelle recognized some of the sort of YouTube celebrities. You want to mention who you saw and kind of who you went and got to greet?
So first, I think I saw Zach and Jesse from Now You Know, which was really exciting. And then the Model 3 guy from Canada, I think his name's Pete or Peter, so he was there. And I saw Casey Neistat and David Dorberg.
And I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed I missed seeing Casey. She came back later and just casually mentioned like, yeah, I got a picture with Casey. And I'm like, he was here?
At first he was like, yeah, great, Casey. And then he saw my picture after I posted it. He's like, that Casey?
Yeah, I thought it was somebody else totally, because she just mentioned it casually, because she didn't like add the Neistat or whatever, you know, Neistat. Yeah. And it was like just Casey, like, oh, Casey's like some YouTuber, yeah.
Yeah. And then Marquez Brown Lee, he was there.
And there was a guy too I need to mention, I don't know who he was, but maybe if he watches this video or somebody knows who he is. There was a guy who came dressed, and I'll show a little video clip here, a photo that we got. There was a guy who came dressed like as Rocket Man, like with the mask and like a leather jacket, a whole suit and everything, and everybody wanted to take pictures with him.
So I found out a little bit more about him.
Oh, did you?
So he's Starman. He's the comic book writer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so he dressed up as Starman. So that was pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah, because we didn't know who he was. He was just, I didn't know, at least. He was walking around and he was dressed pretty sharp. So we waited a little while outside. We were lucky because we got there relatively early. And I'll explain later, we got a really good position because of that. But the funny thing about LA is the people that were getting in line, and then later on we got inside, I think there was a memo that went out that everybody's supposed to wear like solid black, no color whatsoever. Like here in Oregon, I mean, people don't dress up too much, but like maybe a little bit Portland or Seattle or San Francisco, yeah, you have a little color. You wear some green, you wear some purple, whatever. You know, women maybe wear some red, some white. Everybody's black. It was like there's a funeral going on inside. Everybody's just dressed totally black, especially the guys. So they let us in, and they gave us, I'll show in a minute, this little card that we got. They gave you a little card to wear around your neck, and then they sort of punched it, and it had, I think, some Wi-Fi information and a number on it, which designated your turn in line to be able to do a test drive. So I got kind of lucky because the card that I got, I forget the number on it, but it's like $2.99 or what was it?
You got $1.99.
$1.99.
$2.43.
And she was talking with some people and sort of hanging out outside. So they to finally get through, she got her card a little bit after mine. But we weren't completely screwed. There was somebody that we were chatting with that was like 400 and something.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a wait to be able to do the test drive. And we'll talk a little bit later about the actual like why. This is just all I wanted to start with, talking about the experience of just sort of visiting Tesla, especially for reveal. So we got a pretty good position. There was a set of stairs, and I think everybody that was first in was kind of thinking what we were thinking, that is, oh, Elon's gonna run up these stairs, you know, because they're right here. It's the only way to get up on the platform. So everybody was kind of grouped around that area. And actually it started to create a bottleneck because you come in the door or the curtain, and then everybody's sort of crowding around this one area where they think that Elon's going to make his grand entrance, or somebody's going to make a grand entrance with those stairs, and security is covering them, so it looks like there's something big going on there. But anyway, it fills up, all you can drink, all you can eat. There was, I didn't actually eat any of the food. I'm a vegetarian, so they never really have good hors d'oeuvres usually for vegetarians, but did you get anything to eat?
We got an excellent spot, and I was planted. I was not moving. No hors d'oeuvre is good enough. Because
I know that I went and got a couple of drinks, and then we'll talk later about, I had a few before we got actually the, to do the little test ride, but they had, what was that drink that you had that you recommended?
I wish I knew. It was clear and it had some raspberry puree in it. I don't know, but it was amazing.
There was some sort of berry punch that they had that was that she felt a little bit the effects of it. It was pretty good. But I had a couple of beers, and then I had one of those mixed drinks too. But it was just It was really classy, and I'm not saying that because I'm a suck up for Tesla, but like to be invited to this thing, and there wasn't, I didn't even see, and I hope I'm not saying anything wrong, but there wasn't even like a tip jar, and maybe we were supposed to tip anyway, but it was just like super gracious, like all you can drink, all you can eat. They had some ice cream like on a stick, like these, I don't know, they're mochi balls or something, but you see those people eating those? There was like some ice cream on a stick thing, and then they're like I said, they're giving out free drinks. It was really classy the way that they did it. Good DJs playing music, keeping the crowd all riled up. One thing that was really funny is I wasn't sure what technology I could bring, and so I brought 4 cameras with me, and I intended to bring all of them in, and then at the last minute I'm like, that's overkill. I'll just bring in 2 because I don't want security to hassle me if I try to bring in too much equipment, because I really wanted to document this, this event more personally for me than like it's not going to get covered on YouTube or something like that. But anyway, we get in there, we get our spot. Everyone around us has backpacks full of gear, cameras. Some people had cameras mounted on tops of sticks and their backpacks like poking out, like shooting over their head. Everybody's filming everybody else. There's people filming each other. I mean, it was just like there's cameras everywhere. So I didn't film the whole reveal event. I figured
it's pretty well covered.
It's pretty well covered. I mean, like it was the most documented event in history, and there's a little video clip I'll show in a minute where Elon even talked about that. But and also when Elon came out, we'll talk a little bit about the reveal in a minute, but one of the things that he said is, I don't think I've ever seen so many cameras like in one place. And when he said that, I had mentioned something to Michelle earlier in the trip, and that was, I do want to take a moment to kind of shut off the technology and just like be there in the moment, because this is a big deal for me. I've been in electric cars since I was 18, 45 now, and so Tesla to me is just a huge success story. And I was like, I'm probably never going to get a chance to go down there again, and I just want to like remember like actually being there and not staring at my screen. So I got a couple of shots of Elon, a couple of shots of some different things, but I took actually a lot less photos than I normally do. So as far as the reveal itself, do you want to talk about Elon's family that was there? Because she noticed them before I did.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I was ready for the event and not have to move, so I was going to make my way to the restroom real quick, and on the way I saw May Musk and I saw Kimball, and I got up the courage to go up to Kimball and kind of shake his hand and say hi, and would you mind taking a selfie? And so he did, so I got a picture with Kimball, which was awesome.
And Kimball was really hard to notice because he goes everywhere in like that 10-gallon Texas hat, so I saw him around the same time I think that Michelle did. So when they actually got ready, they had a long story. You've probably seen the event where they covered the history of Tesla, the S, the X, and kind of went through all that. And then, when's the first time you noticed who drove the Y actually out?
Well, I'm a little short. Even though we got pretty much second row, which was amazing, I didn't see him until he actually stepped out, and then everyone was like, Franz!
Yeah, that was about me as well. So they parked the Y out on center stage, on the main stage. Oh, and I should mention, prior to that, it was actually pretty crowded. They brought out, I don't remember the order, but they brought out the exact order, but they brought out the S, they brought out the X, they brought out, I don't remember if it was the truck or the Roadster next.
Oh, the semi and the Roadster.
The semi and the Roadster. Yeah, sorry, the truck. We'll talk about the truck later. We missed that.
The Roadster was first.
The Roadster?
Yeah.
And then they brought out the semi. And the semi was really cool because I'll show you a picture of this one, but they brought out the red one with the lowered sort of fairing. So it's a little more compact and it's in a bright like fire engine red. It was really cool. And then the Roadster that they brought out, I'm not sure how many there are, if there's more than one prototype running around. I think I've seen a white one in photos. I've seen that kind of gorgeous pink red one, and that's the one that they had at the reveal that was on display. Couldn't get super close to it, but you get close enough to at least, to appreciate the beauty of it and the way that they've styled it. So after they actually brought out the Y, we had, I think it was a couple of hours to wait for the test ride. There were a lot of people wanting a test ride, and they only had one Model Y running. There were a total of 3 of them on site. One of them was white with heavily frosted windows, so you couldn't see the interior at all. I'm not sure if you could drive it or not. If it could be powered, but it was there, and the exterior was fully finished. They had another one that was a wind tunnel model, and I've got a photograph of me in front of that, but it was all black, no windows, it was just a model only. You want to speak a little bit about we had, you know, maybe 2 hours waiting for our test ride. What did you think about the event? What did you think about the staff?
I actually regret not talking to more staff, because it's come to find out half of them were designers and, you know, people who are very inside Tesla. You know, I think maybe I was a little naive thinking that maybe they were hired help or something for the event, but they're not. So I kind of regret not talking to more of the staff and saying, you know, what's your role here? What do you do? Because that would have been really interesting.
We actually had two of the people we ended up talking to, actually it was three. We talked to one of the guys who was involved in, I think he was involved in design, because he was the one telling us about the aerodynamic model, and he was telling us all the details of it. There was a gal that came up and talked to us. She was part of the energy program, so she was talking about superchargers and about just energy in general to power the cars. And then there was a guy, we'll talk a little bit later about the V3 supercharger, but the guy who was talking to us out there had kind of a little bit of a German accent or some sort of accent, and super knowledgeable. I think he was like involved in the designing of the thing, you know, and so you're bumping into these different people, and like she was saying, you think, oh, they're just there to be nice and to kind of keep you corralled, but actually some of the people were there to get feedback, which was really interesting. What did you think about Elon's presentation?
It was so good to see him actually smiling and happy and carefree, and he was just very interactive with the audience, and just he was laughing, and sometimes he can seem a little robotic or I don't know, uneasy when he speaks, but he seemed very just genuinely happy. You know, it was good to see him that way, and it was interesting to see just how you know, somebody in the audience would say something and he would laugh and kind of, you know, banter back and forth, and it was really nice to see.
If you haven't seen the video of the full reveal, there were two guys there particularly amusing, one from Saskatchewan, one from Kazakhstan, both complaining about a lack of superchargers, and he had a little banter back and forth with both of them, which was funny. So I don't know Elon at all, and I haven't really even met anybody who's met him, but I've seen all the video clips of him, I've watched all the interviews of him because I'm a big fan. One of the things I liked is he looked super healthy, and that was nice to see, because it's weird, like you don't even know the guy, like we're not, you know, we don't have any connection other than I bought one of his cars or two of his cars, but you worry about the guy, you know what I mean, because you hear stories that he's sleeping on a couch at work, you know, because he doesn't have any time to go home and get a good night's rest. And there was even somebody, one of the YouTubers had bought him a couch, like did a little crowdfunding thing and then sent to his office like a couch and said, dude, sleep. So I thought it was really cool getting to see him healthy, because I've seen video footage of him where he looked like he was just on death's door, and he looked super happy and like she was saying, and healthy at the event. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, I didn't ask you when the Model Y first came out on stage, initial impressions?
Initial impression was it looked just like the 3. And I think a lot of people share that, but I'm okay with that. Like, I love it.
There's nothing wrong with the Model 3. The
Yeah.
Model 3 looks pretty good. Well, so how about so fast forward to when we actually were in line and then they let us into the car. First impressions when you sat in the car.
Well, so there was the driver, and then someone took the front, and then there was 3 of us in the back, and so you got stuck in the middle, and then I was on the right-hand side, but I was not cramped, which was nice, and there was 3 grown men, you know, and me, and I'm not exactly small, so I thought it was great, and I thought there was a lot more headroom. First thing I noticed was the beautiful panoramic roof. And
she noticed that before I did.
Yeah, and the fact that beam was not there anymore, that's like in the 3, it was just stunning. It was gorgeous.
Now the interesting thing is, so I upgraded from the dual motor to the performance dual motor, and then you're running a dual motor Model 3 as well. And when the test ride was pretty short, but they did a good job of giving us a feel of the acceleration, and then he made a very sharp turn, like a complete turnaround, and then on the way back he deliberately made some dramatic S sort of turns so you could feel the handling, even though we obviously don't get to take the car like on a racetrack or on the slaloms or something like that. He did a pretty good job, the driver, you know, he's just doing this all night long, of trying to simulate sort of the feel of it. What did you think about how it compared with like a Model 3?
I thought it was amazing. I thought it was extremely, like I was in a Model 3. Maybe I missed my Model 3 when I wasn't there. But I think the stats, because the blue Y that we got to ride in, I think it was a dual motor, non-performance, and I think the stats on that are supposedly a little bit slower than the dual motor 3, and I didn't feel it. Like, it felt really spunky. It
felt to me like it had all the power of the Model 3, and the interesting thing, so here are my thoughts on it, and this was a really big motivation for me to film this video. Aside from just talking about, you know, attending the event, for people who haven't attended the event and are curious about how they're run, I wanted to comment on this. So it's been now about a week that the event happened, the reveal happened, and it's been stunning to me how many people have an opinion about the Y, saying, oh, it's just a 3 but a little bit taller, like they stretched it in Adobe Photoshop. So I'm a guy who's committed to his performance Model 3, and I'm loving it. I love the Y, and the big question for me is going to be, why get a 3 when you can get a Y? The price is really competitive. I think you're losing, they were saying 10% efficiency or something like that.
Yeah, it's
10% I think that's what they're saying, but if that's, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, and that's the only thing I can see that's a negative of the Y. Because in my opinion, I mean, I sat in the back, and that panoramic roof is a big deal. When these start coming out, you're going to see that. I mean, it's interesting how many people online have an opinion about it and they haven't sat in it, because when you actually sit in it and you look up, you're like, this looks really different. It just gives the room, the car more airiness, more room and more airiness. And then that little extra bit of headroom sitting up a little bit higher so you can see traffic a little bit better and see your surroundings. And then having that third row of seats, if you've got, you know, a use for them. We'll talk about that in a minute. I really think the Y is kind of almost a Model 3 killer, and it's not, you know, we yawn at the Y, but rather it's going to be, what's the reason for the 3? And I think when you get a Performance Edition 3 and you drive it like a bat out of hell, maybe you're going to get a slight advantage with the lower CG, but I didn't feel like the Y had a really high CG. It's not like it's that much higher. The battery pack's probably still the same height. So it'll be interesting to see some numbers when it comes out of, you know, how different it is from the 3 in terms of balance. So do you want to talk about that third row of seats and how useful or how useless do you think they'll be? Been a lot of talk about that.
Yes, I think it's warranted. I think they're probably not super useful. Everybody knows that Tesla seats are kind of iconic in their design. They have the headrest that's built into the seat. In the third row, there's not even a headrest. I think that's partially because of the design. The fastback has to come down kind of at a sharper angle, because you have so much more headroom in the Y than the 3. So you've got that arch kind of up top, but then the fastback has to kind of come down a little sharply. So it's pretty small.
I think they kept them kind of dark there during the test ride because, you know, they are limited utility, and I think they're going to be comparable to the jump seats that are in the Model S that you can get, and I think they're all actually the same price. I think they're $3 grand in the S, I think. Somebody will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. And then they're $3 grand right now for the Model Y. One thing, by the way, I learned from my last video is whenever I mention prices, you can kind of forget about it because they're probably going to change in 6 months. Tesla seems to monkey with things, but right now, if you had a couple of young kids, you had a big family, you could put some kids back there, but I think what most people are going to do is treat the Model Y kind of like a Subaru Outback or a Subaru Forester. Probably stick your dog back there, or maybe just some groceries or some things like that that are, you know, anything that's tall, and people are going to use that extra room for storage. So after we got done with the test ride, we came back inside, and I think it was, I don't know what time it was, but there was a brief period of time where we got separated. She was looking at some different stuff or talking to some different people, and I was talking to some different people. And the music got really weird. The light started kind of flickering and getting dim, almost like it was getting ready for like a, I don't know, like there was a change in mood and a change in tempo, and the lighting changed, and then all of a sudden some music started pumping, and people started looking around like, it reminded me of the They Might Be Giants song, I forget what it's called. Man, it's so loud in here, where everyone is so confused. Like just looking around, like this music started thumping and everybody was like kind of looking around like, what's going on? And then it stopped. And then everybody went back to what they were doing. And did you want to tell everybody what that was about? Because there's been some news stories that have kind of come out since then.
So apparently, while everyone was doing their thing, there was a flash up on the screen of the Cyberpunk Truck.
And I'm so pissed I missed it. Because I went to this event, like first and foremost, I was hoping that they would reveal the truck, because I'm waiting for the truck. But yeah, I missed it. She missed it. I don't know anybody who saw it. But that was so genius of them, because it was not subtle. Like, it was weird in the room. Like, you felt like something was going on. Like maybe the DJ was high or drunk and he started, messing with things, because there was a total change in the music and the lighting. It was really weird.
Very deliberate. The whole mood changed. But
yeah.
It was so abrupt and short that no one really, I don't know, it was really easy to kind of go back to what you were doing.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. Okay. It was pretty short.
Yeah.
So one of the things we did while we were waiting, before we got ready to go, is we went out and checked. Somebody came up to us and said, the V3 charger, they said, I don't remember how they phrased it, but they sort of said, it's not a really big deal. A lot of people aren't excited about it, but we are letting people know that if you want to go see the new supercharger demo, we're doing it out front. So we went out front to take a look at it, and this is the dumbest thing. It's just a weird thing to get excited about. It's kind of like, so we went out there and I was kind of like, yeah, I'll check it out. I mean, we got time to kill, so no big deal. And I walked away. It's almost as exciting to me. Well, not as exciting as the Model Y, but darn near as exciting, in the sense that the new V3 charger puts 1,000 miles per charge, or per hour, into the car. And this is what gets me really excited, is they've taken the charging cable and they have shrunk it down so that it's much more flexible than the older style. And that's going to mean a lot for people like, here I'm in Oregon. When I drive over to Bend, I go up to Detroit Lake, and it's not, like Canada type cold, but it gets cold enough that the charging cable gets really stiff. It gets kind of difficult to angle it into your car. So I was super excited to see that. So after we got done with all of that, let's talk a little bit about who did we notice at the after party, or sort of, as things were kind of going along in the evening.
Yeah, so after our drive, and after we had kind of walked around a little bit, we saw Franz.
And Franz is the lead designer, I think the head of the design team for Tesla. And he's pretty hard to miss. He kind of dresses like a rock star, and he's kind of the, in terms of popularity, he's up there with Elon. And so I don't remember if I approached him first or you did, but...
Oh, I did. I definitely did.
And so, go ahead and tell your story about what you brought to the event to have him sign.
So I brought the early reservation holder die cast. It's the 1/43 scale. So the Model 3 that we own is red with the white interior, and so I had him sign my die cast.
So it made sure to bring a nice permanent silver marker.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I stood in line. At the Model 3 event, and off the top of my head, I've written it down someplace, but I want to say it was 850 something days, or 830 days that I waited to get my Model 3. And so by the time that I got my Model 3, they were all out of die-cast cars. I didn't get one, but one of the things that I got when I made my reservation for the Model 3 was this sort of illustration of the render, and it was a note from Elon that says, "Thank you for ordering a Model 3," and at the bottom it had a picture of one of the early renders. And so I had Franz sign this, and he was kind enough to do that after he signed her car. It was funny. I mentioned earlier that I had a few drinks, and I just decided, I was going to have some fun. I mean, I wasn't driving anywhere. We're taking Lyft everywhere, so I went ahead and imbibed a little bit and had several drinks. And so when I walked up to Franz, after I got the signature, I was cool when I asked for the signature. I was just, "Oh, would you mind signing this? That'd be great." But then I got really excited because I had to ask him this question. And so I went up like a third time, and I said, "I got to ask you, you know, we rode in the prototype Model Y, but I got to ask you, did you guys get rid of the center beam, or is that just in the prototype? Meaning, is this like kind of optimistic, like this is what we're hoping to do, or did you actually get rid of it, and is it going to be gone in the production model? And I'll never forget his response, his sort of demeanor and attitude was sort of like, oh yeah, no, we got rid of it. And it was like so cool the way he mentioned it. It was like almost like, why would you even ask? Like, no, yeah, we totally got rid of it, no problem. And anyway, he was just very courteous. You know, Elon disappeared. I'm sure he has things to do, but Franz stuck around and was meeting and greeting anybody who wanted a signature, to say hi, get a photograph, anything like that. He was milling around. Super cool guy, and it was kind of a cool thing to be able to get to meet him. So what did you do when you got home? Did you make a reservation? Did you think about it?
Other than telling everybody how amazing it was, that was the first thing I did. Second thing is I reserved a Model Y. So I'm gonna pull out the old T-shirt that says my other car's a reservation again.
And how long's the wait? I haven't checked the calculator.
I didn't notice, other than the fact that it's expected fall 2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it'll be a little bit of a wait, but. Anyway, if anybody has any questions, put them down in the comments section. But hope you enjoyed this video, and if you get a chance to get some referrals together, and if they're still doing the program, maybe they're going to change it around in the future. If you have some way that you can get down there for a reveal event, would highly recommend it. They did a really good job. I want to say that sincerely, that it's not just like you got invited to a cool party and so you're bragging about it. Like, it legitimately was a really nice event, and Tesla staff was awesome. It was a lot of fun. It was like going to a great wedding or something like that.
And they treated everyone equally.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the YouTubers or the media got special privileges or VIP. I mean, it was literally first come, first serve. Whoever gets to the stage first, that's your spot. And everyone mingled together. There wasn't, this section and that. I mean, it was awesome.
And you reminded me of something else that I did want to mention, and that was, we talked a little bit about it when we were there. Other funny thing about Tesla that I noticed, maybe it was with their staff primarily, it reminded me of the Starship Enterprise, where you've got kind of like different people, different ethnicities, different nationalities, all working on kind of this combined goal. And I couldn't help but notice that, because you're just walking around, we're talking to people with different accents, and there's men and women and everything. And I thought that was kind of interesting too, and it was kind of cool.
I really liked how engaging the Tesla staff was, because if they saw you just kind of standing around and gossiping or talking or whatever, they would come up to you and say, so how are you enjoying yourself? How's the event? And that's how we found out about the version 3 supercharger. Was one of them approached us and said, hey, did you know that we're doing this demo outside? Check it out. So they were amazing.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. But until the next video, so long.